So, hello everyone. It's 6 p.m. live, and we are with Mr. Aradhye Ackshatt, the author of A Life Afloat. So, sir, right now I'm having a big fanboy moment here because after reading the book, I was like, it took my heart away seeing all those relatable things. And I'm not even talking about the literary stuff, but those relatable things that I have seen and that took my heart away. So, sir, it's an honor to have you here and welcome to the Indian Book Club.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarthak, and I'm really glad that my words resonated with you. It's just a collection of my experiences and how I took them in context because I travel so much. At least I used to, before certain events happened. But yeah, thanks so much for understanding that it's not really uh, it's not really fact that describes who we are. It's more about how we take the experiences we have and we make up our own truth. So the thing that I talk about in the book a couple of times, I don't go too deep into it. Aletheia, which is truth, which is the real something that you live by, something that you will you know continue to gather throughout your life. So the truth about life becomes more solid as you become older, as you gain more experience. And so that is kind of what went into A Life Afloat. The first few years, no, I won't say few, the first two-thirds of my life, I would say. And of course, by the end of it, it catches up with the present. So really glad you liked it, and always nice to meet someone who understands, what I'm trying to put across
Yeah,
in the book.
okay, sir. So, for the audience, I wanted to share that in this session, I'll try to ask some questions to the author, but you are also free to, ask anything you want to ask with the author, any literary stuff or from the particular book. So, let's begin. And starting off with the typical question, I'll ask about the title. So, how did you come up with this title, sir?
See, clouds and heights always look nice, not just on Instagram, but in real life.
Yeah.
So when I used to be sitting in the mountains and I used to be looking out over the valley, of there were there was a frequent occurrence of clouds in those memories of mine. So when I thought about the places that I've been, most of them are in the Himalayas because I was educated in the Himalayas, and I live in Delhi, so it's pretty close. So every chance we get, we just take off to the Himalayas. Being above the clouds was something that was playing on my mind when I was writing the book, and clouds floating, and my life has been floating above the clouds. So that kind of coalesced into the title. And it sort of had a second meaning for me because I haven't lived too long, at least in the first half of my life, I haven't lived too long in a single place. So for education or for college, I moved around quite a lot. So that was also a kind of a nomadic thing, a life that is not
Yeah.
settled, rooted somewhere, it's afloat. So these two things went into the title.
Okay, so th that was something beautiful I liked because I can relate to that also because I'm from Uttarakhand. So that was really nice to know. So, okay, so sir, the next question will be that travelogue is not a very common genre. I don't think many of the readers might have heard of that. So, can you name a few travelogue that might have inspired you into writing this one?
Okay, so I haven't really read this one, which I'm going to recommend first. It's called The Shooting Star. It's
Okay,
by an Indian lady blogger. She
okay,
inspired me. I wasn't able to read her book, but it's kind of a collection of her blogs, right? Travel blogs. So Shooting Star, I'm forgetting the name, but I'm sure I'll, share it with you later.
okay,
So something that inspired me to get I have been writing for a long time, but I haven't really put those writings together. So this was the first attempt at recollecting a lot, adding to it, adding constant to the experiences about traveling, right? And then I will say Bill Bryson, because Bill
okay,
Bryson
Bill
is
Bryson.
one of those, right? So Bill Bryson is a very varied author. But
Yes.
many people might not know this, that he actually focused a lot on travel writing in his early days.
Oh,
So now he writes a history of everything
yes.
and, very books. But that kind of experience is what he gathered by traveling all over the world and writing about it. And then there's Pico Iyer. So Pico Iyer
Okay.
always very, my writing is very verbose. I tend to use a lot of words which I don't expect the reader to know. I mean, I'm
Okay.
writing it. While I'm writing it, I know that I want you to pick up a dictionary or, Google. I mean,
Yeah.
Google. But Pico Iyer was someone who inspired me that way. Shashi Tharoor, but not in the travel sense. So
Okay.
Pico Iyer and Bill Bryson, I will say, are excellent travelogue writers, and
Okay.
that is where I drew some inspiration from.
Okay. That was new to me as well. Bill Bryson. I've read History of Everything, I think, but I didn't know about the travelogue part. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
in his
Okay.
travel, not travel journalist, but in his young writing days. And,
Okay.
Western countries, Western authors are blessed because they have the opportunity, the means to travel the world at a young age.
Yeah.
We have to wait to,
Too much.
get before we do it. But they are, they've had that and they've used it well. Bill Bryson also used it well. So he's a great writer, of course, and you should check out more books by him.
Okay. Okay. So Busy Broker says we did learn a lot of new phrases and words from the book.
Well,
Okay.
I'm glad you're taking it. It's part my experiences, but also something that I want to leave. Leave as part of my legacy. So I guess this is the start of my legacy, and based on your guys' feedback, on the readers' feedback, I will, keep on doing this because I was afraid. I was afraid that it'll become so esoteric that there won't be an audience. I wasn't in it for selling it. I was always in it for finding out like-minded people,
Oh,
like your broker. Also, what is the best
the,
thing for you traveling? The new experiences, even in familiar places, you go twice and it's not going to be the same. You might know the place, you might even know the people. I know people. I mean, I have friends who I've known almost lifelong since I was 11, 12 years old in the mountains.
oh,
But even when I go to visit them again, it's the same place, the same resident people, but the people around have changed, and especially with development, we are very lucky to have been brought up to actually have grown up in an age in which ease of access is not just digital. Ease of access has gone down to the roads. The
yeah.
roads have become better. I mean, I have seen a mountain road being, built in front of my
Oh,
eyes. Like 2 years later, I go there and there's a road now over there. So it's progress in a good way. And I guess you guys, the young generation, have it in you to, like carry it on in a responsible way. Not just throw trash around and leave your imprint wherever you go. But I guess the environment is something that, I mean, I'm hoping to put more of it in my second, book, because I
oh,
want to focus more on eco conversation and how we can. It doesn't take. You can't all be Greta Thunberg. Okay, you can't all, make speeches at the UN. It's
yeah.
impractical to think like that. But at the same time, small steps that we take at an individual level, and there's a very nice foundation called Himalayas Live, and very many other organizations that are doing a great job of actually taking care of the mountains. So these are the kind of things that I want to do, and that's what I find best about traveling.
Okay.
uh, I'll Sarthak, if you mind if I go ahead and answer this.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
All right, so I think every child is, unique. Every person is unique. So I can't really give out, life advice because I can't claim to be I'm not qualified enough to give that sort of an advice. From my experience, what I can share is that I had an awesome max experience at boarding school. So neither is any child the same, nor is any boarding school the same. there are there are too many factors in there for me to give any, you
Exactly.
know,
Yes.
yeah, I would feel false if I was propagating something which I couldn't, relate to the person asking for the advice, busy broker. So, but I'd love to have a discussion about it. We can discuss things so that people can, you know,
Hmm.
think about it from their own perspective.
Yeah, yeah. So, something I always wondered about these kind of genres, like from biographies or travelogue, is that uh, there's a very different thing in these things. When you write a normal fiction, you have to create plots and stories and characters. But something when you make self-reflection in the book, so you'll have to, wove the memories also. So how do you do that? I mean, do you just skim an old journal, or you're like contemplating into new thoughts and then you write it? So can you just in a nutshell describe the writing process of such kind of books?
Sure. I touched upon this a few minutes ago that I kind of started to collect what I had written about those
Okay.
places and then I started to add to it, right? So now that I was older, I have, kind of coalesced a lot of thought in my mind. So when I used to look back at that travel, what I had written, made notes, or something, done something, photographs were an
Okay.
excellent callback.
Yeah, you have
So,
written also about that
right,
memories. Yes.
because I was, I felt grateful that I was at least, that I'll take a photo of everything I see.
Yeah.
And that helped me a lot in going back to that place and, remembering what I was feeling then and connecting it with what I was feeling now. So that is kind of how this book developed. Okay, my sister is asking, among all the places you've traveled, which one is your favorite? Leh Ladakh, by a
Okay.
long shot. I mean, over and above everything else, because it's literally the top of India. And the experiences that, the solitude and the people, just amazing.
So how was the journey? You started on the bike or?
No, actually, I've written about it in the last chapters, I think. So we drove up actually. Both my trips towards the higher reaches of the Himalayas have been in our own vehicles. And Leh Ladakh, we started from Delhi in an amaze, and we a Sandro tagged along on the way. And thankfully, both cars, we came back. We did the entire route, Manali, then Keelong, Leh, Srinagar, Amritsar, Delhi. So thankfully, both cars did not suffer too
Yeah,
much, or rather, did not make us suffer too much, because machines are
exactly.
how people drive them. But
Hmm.
thankfully, we all experienced drivers. The Santro people didn't have a plan with us. It was one of
Oh,
those impromptu things. Yeah, we went up to the first night that we were in Old Manali near Vashisht. Sorry, we were in Old Manali and we were going to Vashisht to get the pass and all. So these guys,
okay.
they're like, "आप लद्दाख जा रहे हो?" बोला, हाँ हम जा रहे हैं हम भी right, मतलब, you're not in that sense, and they seem like nice fellows, so that is why we were like, sure, why not, two cars are
Why not?
better. And misadventures, I won't say misadventures, but little things did trip us up along the way, but it was kind of the best week of driving that I've had.
That's really exciting to hear. So,
Yeah.
uh, in the book,
So that,
yeah, hello.
yeah.
So in the book, something I noticed is that apart from the little things you have mentioned, there are some heavy philosophical aspects too. Uh, so how did you get inspired for that? Are there any particular writers you read or any books for that, for the philosophical thing?
The Okay, so these days it's not very much in fashion, but reading the classics, Heidegger, Kant, Immanuel Kant,
Okay.
Martin Heidegger, Schopenhauer, and then you come into these modern things like Jean-Paul Sartre, but he's not that philosophical. He's more of absurdism, you know.
Okay.
Albert Camus affected me quite a lot when I read him, but Albert Camus is not something you live your life by, because it's
Okay.
very bleak. Okay, it's, I mean,
Okay.
you try to, you understand the point of it and then you move on. So that
Oh,
basically what it is, selection of which philosophies to follow, what to take
exactly.
away from each philosophy. I mean, no offense to the theists out there, but God is a philosophical concept, and it's up to you how much you believe in it, whether you believe in it like 100%, or whether you are like, you take it with a pinch of salt.
Mm,
And so this is how I kind of made my own philosophy, which was
okay,
existentialist, uh, very much based on being in the present, being present in the moment, taking life as
okay,
it comes. So that's the core of what I come up with during the course of the book, right? So it's basically when I'm traveling, I'm not thinking about मुझे वापस जाके ऑफिस में क्या एक्सेल शीट बनानी है, या फिर मुझे मैंने घर में कहीं मैंने डिलीवरी बॉय को या न्यूज़पेपर को मना करना भूल गया, stuff like that. So, put setting your mind free from those constraints so that you can enjoy the present. That's what makes traveling so beautiful, because you are literally away from your worries.
yeah,
Your worries can't reach you, and the more signal-free areas you are in, the better it is,
yeah.
right? So yeah, that's the kind of philosophy. I read a lot. I came up with the things that I wanted to integrate into my life, and that's what I've you know written
Okay.
down in.
Okay, so as you said कि Excel sheet के बारे में नहीं सोचना है and stuff like that while traveling. So there's something I always wonder कि when writers are doing these kind of things, I mean, writers to do they enjoy those stuff or they are like, oh, it's a nice plot and I have to write it down also, and you should convert it to writing also.
I think authors who are doing that for a living, authors who are writing for a living, need to do that, because unless they produce a output, unless they are very consistent with their output, one book does not a Chetan Bhagat make. A Chetan Bhagat is made by six books which are, I mean, declining in quality but increasing in volume.
Yeah.
That sort of. So to become a real, I mean, it's very tough. That's why I'm not a full-time writer, and many people I know, at least half a dozen people I know, would like to be where I am, would like to have a book under their belt of their own, stuff like that. But it's not easy. So that is why writers, to get, to answer your question, writers should, they should be thinking about, हाँ ये मैं plot में डालूंगा, ये मैं note कर लेता
Hmm.
हूँ, ताकि कहीं पे मैं घुसा दूँ, you know. So it becomes in the, मतलब I don't want to disparage any authors, but low effort दिख जाता है,
Mm.
when low effort put into a fiction, even the lightest romantic fiction of any sort, it shows, when conversations will randomly, just talk about something just to make up the pages. So these are the kind of things that I could never do. I can never even imagine doing. But I do make notes of some things that come into my mind at certain times. वो shower लेते हुए thoughts आते हैं,
Yeah.
right? So
Exactly.
if I can hang on to that thought long enough till I dry off and reach a, I do type it down. So making notes and making progress with your creative output is important if you really want to pursue a literary career.
Okay. I think somebody just asked about escapism.
Escapism.
Yeah.
Escaping is good, in temporary bursts, because reality is not going to go away just because you are away from reality.
Yeah.
So eventually, reality and you are going to get back together, and that is the only point of being in the present is you have to handle what's going on in your present right now without worrying too much. You had a good trip, that's all well and good, but the trip is in the past as well. So you have to treat both things with the same perspective of existentialism. It's uh, learning to deal with things in and keeping your sanity. So
Too many philosophical things. So let's go deep into the philosophy of the book, and that is your philosophy as well, Siksarism. So, For the people who haven't read the book, can you explain 6Rism as well?
Yeah, I mean, if you've been listening since the beginning or if you've just joined in, I'll just, recap what I've said. That being in the present makes you appreciate it more. And what is the present? What is a practical way of looking at time in the present? So if I think 6 seconds, it's too short. If I think 6 days, it's fine because we generally do plan stuff on a week or maybe even a monthly basis. But if I say 6 months, 6 months is too long for me because in 6 months, the world came down with COVID. Just an example, something that came along. It wasn't like I was waiting for COVID to say this. All right. But at an individual level, anything can happen. It's 6 months, God forbid, I might even pass away. Right? In 6 seconds, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to pass away. Right? So
Yeah.
this is the balance. And once again, this is very important for Sikharism. There is no concept of the past. You can think about it as
Right.
much as you, but there's no point in negatively thinking about it. Right? So once again, like with philosophies, you choose and select which best memories you replay most in your mind, and you push out the negatives. Everyone has negative memories, but there is no reason for you to dwell on them again and again. So you got to break free from that. So that brings us to the present. And like I said, the practical way of living at the present was that, okay, I'm pretty sure that in 6 days I might be doing this, but how am I enjoying my 6 hours right now sitting in the office? Monday blues. How do you manage
Yeah.
Monday?
Monday blues.
How do you get excited for the Friday thoughts, Friday vibes and these kind of things? So that brought me down to the day level. Now at the 24-hour level, half a day is like resting, sleeping, recovering, whatever, right? That leaves us with 12 hours. Out of those waking 12 hours, I would say 6 hours is the kind of, for me, it was the practical timeline at which I could plan to do something, whether that is office work, whether that is playing soccer, basketball, a physical activity,
Hmm.
something that I could actually control. That was not
Okay.
beyond my control at all, you know. So that percolated down. It took uh, 3-4 years. When
Oh,
I started thinking about this, I started to categorize my days. I started thinking about how I want to be uh, happy the way that I'm living. How I'm happy, how I'm able to reside. मेरे thoughts और मेरे actions को align होना चाहिए. So this was a way to align my thoughts with my actions. So I decided to deal with things in the next 6 hours, and it's a rolling concept. So right now I'm talking to you, and it's a Saturday night. So by 12, I'll be nice and buzzed, and I'll have finished watching Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings, which just came out. Non-stop. So this is manageable time. I can say, yeah, in 6 hours, I'll be happy and ready to pass out on my bed. So this is how I deal with, this is 6 hours. This is how I deal with time. And there are ups and downs, but mostly it's been up. So going good.
yeah, that's really inspiring, one should definitely try that. So I think Sikharism also have similarities with Carpe Diem, the theory of Carpe Diem. So can you tell some differences between Carpe Diem and Sikharism as well?
Okay, so Carpe Diem is basically, you know, it's more of doing something revolutionary.
Oh,
If you think about what carpe diem actually comes from, right? The most famous example is Robin Williams saying it in that
hmm.
movie, Dead
Yeah,
Right?
that poet society, yeah.
So that's a teacher instigating his students to, rise up and, express themselves outside, break the school's tradition, things like that. So carpe diem is more about you've been, boiling, the milk has been boiling, and carpe diem, go over and beyond what you generally do and go ahead and seize the day,
Seize the
right?
day.
And 6 hourism is more about, it's my way of looking at life on a longer scale. That if I continue to uh,
Okay.
like I said, it's a continuously moving forward 6 hours. right?
Okay.
So if I continue to seize the day in little bits for many 6 hours, I will
Okay.
eventually reach the goal where I want to be in a year, in 2 years, in 10 years. The future is open, to everybody. So that's how, with graded, not like Carpe Diem, in which it's like go ahead and do it
Go
in
ahead.
all.
Yeah.
It's more of a sustained effort.
Moving in a steady manner.
Yeah, as steady as possible because
Steady.
life does not allow you to be steady. Nature by itself is chaos.
Mm.
We were all living naturally, without, I mean, technology, without मतलब रोटी कपड़ा मकान का हमको सोचना अगर नहीं पड़ता, सॉरी अगर सोचना पड़ता
Partha.
तो बहुत different situation होती, believe me. Okay, but since we have moved beyond that and we can think about things in a optimistic way, this is my way of looking at it that way.
Some tips you wanna share to follow sixarism?
It comes with time, and it's not necessary like only see, everyone has their, some people are very enthusiastic about the future, some people would like to be but can't be. So
Hmm.
that's what I would share. That's what my experience from facing those ups and downs and ebbs and lows was. That why don't I start controlling my actions and my thoughts in the near future, in the present as I can make it. So my advice would be to start thinking about things in short, 1 day, 2 day. अगर आप ज़्यादा tension लेते हो आगे की, तो start thinking about a week. That okay, in 1 week I'll do this. Because in the end, what are we working towards? We are working towards improving our lives.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to become better in some way or the other. वो चाहे पैसा
Hmm.
हो, चाहे गाड़ी मेरे को खरीदनी है, किताब लिखनी है, promotion लेनी है, all sorts of things, right? Everybody has their own goals that they're working towards. So I won't say that 6Rsm is the panacea to everything, but I would say it's a way of looking at things in a more manageable way, so that you are two things: more satisfied with what you are doing and less worried about what you should be doing.
Oh, okay. So loads of philosophical talks, and let's move towards pop culture a bit. As you have talked about so many, artists like Pink Floyd and Eminem and Tupac. So artists back in the day have depth in their lyrics and everything they do. So nowadays, do you think that's missing a bit?
Absolutely. To become popular uh, is kind of easy these days. You be vulgar,
Hmm.
and you be sort of disrespecting everything and everyone in your society.
Yeah, exactly.
This is why Indian hip hop sucks, because they thought that hip hop is about making fun or giving abusive language.
Yeah.
Hip hop is not about that. Hip hop is about rebelling against society's pressure on black. So with that base gone, all they were doing was they were copying the beats and copying the
Cus
the profanity.
right.
All right. But I will say this, that uh, Raftar, and I've had the good fortune to meet him when he wasn't famous.
Oh,
Uh, Way back, like I think it was 2013 or maybe 14. Very down to earth, very humble, and he maintained that thing. He does not, uh, you know, uh, he does not abuse for the sake of it. I don't think he abuses in his albums at all. Although आजकल तो illegal भी legal हो गया है, whatever it is,
hmm.
censor करने के लिए नहीं करते. But from the beginning, that guy was somebody who he parted ways with that Indian desi hip hop thing. I'm not going to do this just for the sake of it. So granted, many of his songs might be not very heavy, but at least he stayed away from that. So he is one guy I respect, and I think धीरे धीरे जैसे जैसे it's going to progress, actual people from the Mumbai scene, from हमारे बिहार से बिहारी rap भी चलेगा, भोजपुरी rap, So धीरे धीरे when people will come up from the grassroots level through that, maybe in the next decade or so, then it will be worth something listening to. It will have some sort of value. So that's what I think.
Mhm. Yeah, the viewers, you should definitely read the book for these things, क्यों इसमें बहुत सारी relatable चीजें हैं, आपके favorite artists, series and all. Like you have talked about Breaking Bad as well. That was like my favorite part. I mean, you mentioned Breaking Bad and I was like, damn.
See,
Okay,
good
so
thing appreciated by many people, but it takes a few of us to realize that the effort that goes into making such masterpieces, and for putting them out in the world for us to consume and for us to feel good about. And this is why I appreciate what you are doing, because you are kind of promoting reading, because these days it's a lost art. In fact, I have
yeah.
a friend coming over, his name is Nitin, and he takes care of project bibliotherapy.
Oh,
All right. So he started this on his own, completely on his own. During the lockdown, he got back to his reading habits, and he started posting stuff, dhire dhire, making, sorting out his, I mean, amazingly vast library, of which उसने खुद ही 30% नहीं पढ़ा होगा. मतलब by his own admission, he says कि हाँ, I mean, sundoku is a Japanese term, all right? So sundoku means piling up the pile of books which you haven't read, which you
oh,
have.
Sundoku.
Yeah,
Okay,
TSUNDOKU.
okay,
But I mean, it's just a Japanese word for procrastination. कि
okay.
आपने खरीद के तो रखे जा रहे हो, हर महीने 2 किताबें तो आ जाती हैं आपकी, लेकिन पढ़ते आधी हो. That sort of. But yeah, what you're doing is especially important these days, because people are, I mean, there's no dearth of information.
Hmm.
And that is why it's important to draw their eyes back to reading, good stuff.
Okay, thank you, sir. So let's talk about the post-drafting process that you faced. So how was the process after drafting the book? I mean, the publishing thing, the struggles you faced.
Okay. Uh, I think Right India was the fourth publisher. See, what I did was I got a huge Google document. It was around, I don't know, close to 200 pages. All right. And that had all my, like, I had broken it down into chapters, and ye wo sab kuch kiya maine. What I could do on my own. Then I started with the big ones, Rupa, Juggernaut. Uh, I didn't submit to Penguin because at that time they weren't taking non-fiction.
Oh,
Uh, so basically, after, it wasn't like, all of them have a very, 6 months lagenge aapko. If you haven't heard anything after 6 months, it means we are unable to publish. We've rejected you. So when I submitted it to these two, three big ones, I was like, why am I, trying to gain uh, marketing? Why am I trying to put marketing behind my book by going after a big brand? I have written my book. I don't want it to get edited for marketing reasons. कि नहीं, your target group is travel readers. So remove all this philosophy and stuff, and concentrate on the travel parts. So that kind of control the big houses cannot give you. It's unfeasible to ask them to give up their tried and tested marketing,
oh,
practice. They have their editors work with. They have to sell a book, and they have to make sure it sells thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of copies. Which is why it's important to have it's important to build your brand. So I thought I'm an early first time debut writer. What are the chances that I continue to apply to, like, धीरे धीरे level गिरता जाएगा publishing house का. I start applying with Rupa and Juggernaut and these big ones, right? But then after that, dhire dhire, I'll have to, when they, after 6 months, when I've not heard from them, on the off chance I hear from them, well and good, but then comes the editing process, which I'm talking about, right? So then I explored options with smaller publishers, and Right India was one of them. There were a couple of others, but it's been so long that I've forgotten their names. So then we discussed, and they offered their inputs and all. And I said, look, I have written this from my heart, and I believe that जिसको समझ में आएगा उसको समझ में आएगा, जिसको नहीं आएगा आप उसको समझाने की कोशिश मत करो. So then their editor was very cool with it. It's a small team, so they were like, all right, fine. You want to go ahead with this? We'll do that. So they gave me nice, cover design they did, and sort of how to uh, what to put at the beginning of the book. So I was a first time author. I am a first time author. So I wanted to put an acknowledgements. I wanted to put a chapter outlines. So they're like, these 3-4 pages are going to, the person is not going to flip through. It stops them. If they see something
Okay.
negative in the first 2-3 pages, they are not going to pick up the book. And physical books are gone. Physical books are not, I mean, they are there, but more and more reading is shifting to the online medium. People will order the book if they see the preview is good, and in the
Yeah.
preview will be the first 3-4 pages. So अगर 3-4 pages आपके acknowledgements और preface और यही सब में निकल गए, and the person says, what is this, I don't want this, because even in the if I put a summary of the book, it might be so heavy that the person will get turned off. They'll be like, I wanted a travel book. What am I getting?
Okay.
All right. So for these reasons, it was helpful, and I'm obviously always thankful to them. They are coming up with new things. They've made an app called Ritco, which is for short
Oh,
writing.
okay.
So it's a nice app. I mean, if you guys are interested, check it out. But they were helpful, and then we finally launched, and I mean, it's been great. I mean, I get to you are. I would say you are in the first 10 people who I didn't know before and who reached out to me and said, "I read your book and it seems interesting."
Yeah. It's really
So thank you
interesting.
for that.
Okay. So as you talked about the marketing things and all, so do you think in present day the social media has impacted the uh, literary culture as well? You know, there are a lot of
Absolutely.
factors, as
Hmm.
you, it is also promoting the book thing, but it's also hinders reading. So what do you think? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
See, uh, it's not reached the point where it's a two-edged sword,
Okay.
because people are still interested in reading. People who have had a developed, people who have had a reading habit or have developed a reading habit will always look for good things to read, right? Whether they do it on social media, I think social media, in fact, is the only place now where they can even go and look for stuff that they want to read.
Mm.
If you want to put Google apart, if you want to put searching as one option and social media browsing as one option for things to find, you know to read, तो गूगल आप बहुत स्पेसिफिक, मेरा अगर आपको पता चलेगा अ लाइफ अफ्लोट, then you will Google a life afloat and you will see the Amazon thing and this thing. You want, it's very rare that you would say travel books and then you start
Mm.
selecting from there. But on social media, either you're part of, it's curated according to your interests. So when you start looking for stuff which is about travel and about reading, those two might combine and you might get my books in the result.
Oh,
So this is why it's not really like, I know the perception is that social media ने reading को कम कर दिया है. It has, no doubt about it, कम जरूर किया है. But people who like to read will use it for reading also. वो नहीं हट जाता बंदे का, जो एक वो होता है ना बुक्स पढ़ने की आदत, that doesn't go away. It's simply that the time that they would have used in reading the books gets devoted to social media.
okay. So I think so many things also impact that, like if you have a knowledge of SEO and stuff like that, and authors get promoted, and there are authors who write really good, but they don't have the knowledge of promoting it digitally. So I think that's a bad part of it as well.
Unfortunately, yes, many authors are out there who are unable to take that, massive outreach step.
Messy. Yeah.
I do Twitter a lot. I don't do Instagram so much, but I do Twitter a lot. And when my book was launched, I was tweeting at least 3-4 times a day about it. And like I was mentioning that, you are one of the first 10 people who must have come up to me, like reached out to me. So I think uh, Yeah, I think 5 or 6 of those people are from Twitter. Who are one guy is in Australia, 2, 3 people are in US, one guy is in Europe somewhere. So this is what it does. It expands your audience, And all I was doing was I was replying to travel, like very famous travel people. I replied to their tweet that, oh great, I see what you mean, and this is something that I've touched upon in, so that the interested people, see, like I said, people who are interested in traveling, people who are interested in reading, both will combine, and that's where they will see my book, and that's how
Yeah.
my book will reach them. Hi Prashank, good to see some of my friends have also joined in.
Oh,
Rajat and Prashank are too. And Busy Broker, of course, has been very interactive. So thank you so much for reading and sharing.
okay. So as we have talked about the pop culture and the reading environment, so a conventional Indian family or any family would usually recommend you to read books and get involved in literary stuff and everything like that. So do you think a tinge a tinge of pop culture is also necessary for a child to get involved with?
It certainly does help with, expanding their horizons, because these days kids are more, I mean, we also watched cartoons, but for us, it was one screen in the house. All right. And that was it. I mean, when your elder is watching, you cannot watch. But these days, the elders are giving their children phones ki, नहीं भाई तू ये देख ले मेरे को मत देख. ठीक है? I'm sorry, will you give me 10 seconds, please?
Okay, okay, sir.
Yeah. All right. So park in the visiting parking and come upstairs. The visitors parking is just as soon as you exit the ramp that's into the society. All right. All right. That's my friend Nitin I was telling you about, who manages Project Bibliotherapy, and it's
Oh,
pretty famous, so I can't say, but it's doing pretty well on Instagram. So check that out.
okay.
Yeah, please let's go back. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, we were talking about the, pop culture, the influence of pop culture. The should you recommend pop culture to the teenage and the children?
Yeah, the I definitely do recommend it, but with strict, and I will say this in no light manner, very strict parental control. Because the amount of stuff that is out there to watch is enormous. Once kids start going down that rabbit hole, there is no coming out.
Yeah,
So it's very important for the parents to take responsibility for what they are giving their child to consume. Just like they want to watch, there are parents who will say, नहीं जी हम तो इसको हर दिन हम कचौड़ी खिलाते हैं, छोले भटूरे खिलाते हैं, गुलाब जामुन खिलाते हैं हर दिन, ठीक है? And the kid will be, I mean, there's no running away from nature, the kid will be fat. Same way, if parents will feed their kids, vulgar stuff, if parents will give their kids in, sometimes absolutely mind-numbing stuff to watch, when they're just kids, it's going to make their kids dull. There is no, I mean, it's not going to be like, you pop a pill like limitless and your brain suddenly explodes into 100% activity or something like that. So, I say that it's on the parents, because children and teenagers are going to consume media. You can't stop them. It's kind of a competition among them. And my friends and I were discussing this, I think just yesterday, that like, Korean pop, kids are watching
yeah,
Korean TV,
K-pop. Yeah,
getting into K-pop so much, fandoms, like when I was a kid, Backstreet Boys type things, used to hold attention like that. Girls going crazy. I mean, entire generation going crazy, stuff like that. So that's what is happening right now with, K-pop, with lots of Indian stuff also. I mean, but I would say I would put the onus on parents to make sure that their kid gets something which is mind nourishing and not just mind numbing. So I'm thankful that I was spared that, because I did not have access to a television for 9 months in a year when I was in boarding
oh,
school, or sanction times only. Sunday sham ko, there used to be an old Batman serial that it used to run. So we were allowed to watch that. And when we grew up, football.
Okay. Okay. So, hello.
Yeah,
Am
sure.
I
Go
audible?
ahead. I have to say a hi to Arun as well. I think he's also one of my DC matchmates. Yeah.
Okay, so something I liked asking is that as you have in your teenage or in your uh, adulthood, you have done so many stuff from traveling to, getting involved in the pop culture, into writing poems, into, so many things. So, did you get some extra time to do that, or we are missing some time management tips? Can you share some time
Yeah.
management?
Yeah. I would say time management was pretty important, especially when I started working on the book. Because before that, I was kind of learning how to make the most of my time. And after I decided to actually, go ahead and make a manuscript, that is when I used to come back from office and my home laptop used to be open on that document. And I used to start, it used to be always open. So basically, that was one of my 6 Rsm things, that on weekends sometimes I would dedicate पूरा 4-6 घंटे में बैठ के बस उसी को कर रहा होता था. But nobody can be, I mean, very few people, I don't believe that many people can do that robotic thing where they keep on doing one thing without getting bored. So we aren't robots. We need breaks. Sometimes, we actually need to completely flip our mind from what we are, concentrating on, so that we can do it better. And that was kind of my uh, way to go as far as time management is concerned.
Okay, so that's some heavy motivation we are getting. So, a question that bothers readers and writers a lot is writer's block. So we often get reader's block and writer's block. So have you ever gone into that phase, and how did you conquer that?
You have to realize that it's temporary.
Oh,
The first thing you do, you'll feel it. I mean, sometimes I have felt it physically, that my mind is racing with things and my fingers are like, नहीं अब नहीं मतलब अभी type नहीं होगा. So, and sometimes the same exhaustion happens you know, with books as well, like you said very rightly, reader's block, right? So that also happens. But in the end, look, you get away from it for 2 hours, maybe 2 days, take 2 weeks. It doesn't, that's what you have to realize. It doesn't matter how long it takes for you to get back, as long as you, like the Beatles said, get back.
get back.
you know get back to where you once belonged. And that's the motive, that's the way, the motivation for anybody who's suffering. Just, so I'm really
Yes,
sorry about this. 10 seconds.
it's okay.
Hello. जी भैया, बिल्कुल ऊपर भेज दीजिए, हमारे दोस्त हैं वो. थैंक यू. थैंक यू. या सॉरी.
Okay, so some heavy motivation for the readers and writer's block. And I decided to do something fun. We usually don't do this in our live sessions, and I've decided to do a rapid fire question round with you.
श्योर मैन. टेक इट
Okay,
एज ए
so
फिलोसफी, कुछ भी हो सकता है. तो ये 6 घंटे में आपके खेलना लिखा था.
okay, so are you ready?
Go for it, man.
Okay, so first question is Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Okay, cricket or football?
Ball.
Football. Any favorite player?
Manchester United, Ronaldo. Back to
Okay.
Ronaldo. It changed in the beginning, but since he's back, back to Ronaldo.
Okay, so Eminem or Tupac?
Okay. Eminem.
Eminem. Okay.
He's
So
more relatable. You know, Tupac is way too hardcore, West Coast.
Yeah. Yeah.
More, and he's funnier as well.
Okay, so a book you regret reading.
A book I regret reading. Yeah, I think it's Shiva trilogy by
Oh,
uh,
Amish.
yeah.
Okay.
I shouldn't have it. It played around with my perceptions of what Bholenath should have been like.
Okay. Okay. So, the last video game you've played?
FIFA, FIFA
FIFA.
2019, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, uh, that was an amazing thing that we did. And additionally, last night, FBI just texted me and they told that our beloved author also have some amazing rapping skills. So, so
Uh,
can we hear some bards in here if you are lucky enough?
all right. Not to disappoint you, what I'll do is I'll look in my phone. Like I said, I make some notes sometimes. So sometimes in those notes are verses, so I
Oh,
might give you a sneak preview at my latest verse. All right. Give me 2
FBI.
minutes. 2
Okay.
minutes, 30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
We are Insta Live. This is Nitin from Project Bibliotherapy.
Hello,
This is
Nitin.
Sar Club. So, nice to see you. Yeah, great time to make an entry. Close that and I'll just. All right. So, just a little 10-second thing. If it were up to me, I would never go to sleep. Spend my whole life creating verses for the world to keep. Got fire that should be igniting minds and breaking free of these binds.
Nah, fire. That was
I
fire.
must have written,
That
must have
was
written
really
4 days
amazing.
ago. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for that. I'm really, excited. I just made an author rap. So, so to end this beautiful session, message you would like to give to our viewers. So,
Keep on reading, and I think Nitin will join me in saying that. Read more.
Totally agree with you. And yeah, this was fun. I was supposed to be here earlier, but the traffic got me. So yeah.
He thought at 12 o'clock that by 6 hours, in those 6 hours, he'll be my. All right.
okay. It was really amazing, sir. Thank you for this beautiful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and really looking forward to more. Please do keep me posted when you do this
Yeah.
with other people, and I'll definitely spread the word and join in. And thank you, everyone else, also for joining in.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.